If you love ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, and everything that goes bump in the night, then mark your calendars for the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo, happening September 26 in Mayfield, Kentucky at the Mayfield Graves County Fairgrounds. This incredible one-day event brings together some of the biggest names in the paranormal community, including Aaron G. Thompson from Netflix's 28 Days Haunted, Jimmy and Jeffrey from Outlaw Paranormal, The Wind of Rose, Josh Morris, Michael Huntington, Rachel Ravensville, and many, many more special guests and speakers. Your admission is just $15, and that gets you an all-day come-and-go wristband so you can explore at your own pace, browse more than 35 vendors, enjoy delicious food trucks, attend speaker presentations and panels, meet investigators, hear incredible stories, and dive into the worlds of hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and the unexplained. Whether you're a seasoned ghost hunter or just curious about the mysteries that surround us, there's something for everyone at the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, visit West Kentucky Paranormal Expo on Facebook and get ready for one of the most exciting paranormal events of the year. We'll see you in Mayfield on September 26th. Welcome back to Southern Ghost Stories. I'm the American Haunt Historian, Alan Searcy. Thank you for joining me today. And right off the top, I'm trying to get to 150 Apple Podcast reviews and 100 Spotify reviews for the show before October. If you enjoy the show, please take 30 seconds or so and click 5 stars and mention what you like about the show. Apple and Spotify use the reviews in their algorithm to show the podcast to others who enjoy ghost stories, folklore, true crime, all the wild, weird stuff that I talk about on Southern Ghost Stories. I appreciate you guys, and again, thank you if you've already left a review. I know we got a bunch of them, I'm trying to get a few more. So let's get on the show, shall we? So, there are places where legends seem to grow naturally from the landscape. A lonely cemetery, an abandoned house, a forgotten battlefield. Then there are stories that seem too strange to have just been invented at all. Stories so specific, so deeply rooted in a community that generations continue telling long after the people who experienced them are gone. In the rolling hills of Sumner County, Tennessee, just a few miles from the Kentucky state line, sits the quiet farming town of Westmoreland. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everybody. Fields stretch to the horizon. Narrow roads disappear into thick forests. At night, once the sun sinks below the hills, darkness settles over the countryside in a way most modern people never experience. There are no city lights to soften the night, only distant farmhouses, the occasional train whistle, and the sounds of insects filling the silence. But for nearly 80 years, another sound has been reported there. A shrill scream. A scream unlike any animal anyone has ever heard. And according to local legend, it belongs to something called the Westmoreland White Thing. Most monster legends begin with uncertainty. Someone claims to see a strange creature, another hears unusual sounds. Before long, rumors spread until no one remembers where the story actually started. The White Thing is different. Unlike Bigfoot or the Mothman, locals have always pointed to one specific event as the beginning of the legend. It was a train wreck. During the 1940s, America was changing rapidly. World War II had transformed industries and communities all over the country. But rural places like Westmoreland still moved at a much slower pace. Farmers woke before sunrise. Families gathered on front porches in the evenings. The Louisville Nashville Railroad connected these isolated communities to the rest of Tennessee, carrying livestock, supplies, passengers, and sometimes something far more unusual: traveling circuses. Back then, circuses didn't travel by truck caravans like many do today. Entire productions moved by rail. Special circus trains carried elephants, lions, tigers, horses, equipment, performers, tents, and exotic attractions from one city on to the next. When the circus came to town, it wasn't just entertainment. It was magic. For many rural families, it was the only chance they would ever have to see animals from around the world or witness incredible performers beneath the big top. But according to Westmoreland legend, one of those circus trains never completed its journey. Somewhere outside of town, while traveling towards Nashville on the Railroad, disaster struck. The train derailed. Heavy steel cars twisted violently from the tracks. Wooden circus wagons splintered apart. Cages crashed into one another. Equipment scattered across the countryside. Performers scrambled through the wreckage trying to save one another. Animal handlers raced toward broken cages before frightened creatures escaped into the surrounding farmland. Imagine the chaos. Elephants trumpeting. Horses screaming. Workers shouting orders over the sound of twisting metal. Steam pouring from the damaged locomotives. All the dust hanging in the air. But amid the confusion, circus employees reportedly realized something far more terrifying had happened. One of their attractions had disappeared. Not an elephant, not a tiger. It wasn't a bear. Something else. Something they supposedly kept hidden from the public, except as bizarre sideshow curiosities. The workers allegedly spoke about it in whispers. They refused to describe it in detail. Yet they all agreed on one thing. Whatever had escaped wasn't supposed to exist. Witnesses later described it as unusually tall, almost human in shape, but unnaturally thin. Its skin, or perhaps fur, appeared ghostly white, glowing against the darkness. Long arms ended in razor-like claws capable of tearing through flesh. Its movements were unlike any animal people had ever seen, flowing with impossible speed and unnatural grace. Before anyone could recapture it, the creature vanished into the forest surrounding Westmoreland. And just like that, it was gone. The circus wasted no time searching. According to local accounts, the promoter offered a substantial reward to anybody who could help find the escaped attraction. And money talks in farming communities. Search parties formed. Men carrying rifles walked fence lines. Others searched creek beds, caves, and the dense woods. But despite the reward, no one found it, or at least no one admitted they had. The circus eventually packed up what was left of their operation, and they headed on towards Nashville. Life moved on, at least for them. Westmoreland wasn't so fortunate. Because shortly after the derailment, strange things began happening on local farms. The first reports involved livestock. A farmer would wait to discover chickens scattered across the yard. Another would find goats lying dead without obvious signs of feeding. Calves appeared with horrific wounds. Sometimes only a single animal died. Other times several were found together. The injuries disturbed even experienced farmers. Predators usually kill for food. Coyotes leave recognizable bite patterns. Dogs attack in packs. Bobcats leave claw marks. But locals insisted these deaths looked different. Animals were often mutilated in bizarre ways. Some appeared almost surgically cut. Others seemed ripped apart with incredible force. Yet very little meat had actually been eaten. And that detail stuck with people. Something was killing, but it didn't always seem interested in feeding. Word spread quickly in that small town. Soon, nearly every farmer in the area knew someone who claimed to have lost livestock under mysterious circumstances. The attacks became common enough that families changed their routines entirely. As sunset approached, livestock were brought in early. Barn doors were locked. Children were ordered inside before dark. And many farmers began spending long nights sitting beside their fields with loaded shotguns resting in their laps. Hour after hour they would wait, listening, watching, certain something would come along. Sometimes they heard movement, branches snapping, leaves rustling, something circling just beyond the lantern light. But whenever they investigated, Nothing. Whatever stalked the farm seemed almost impossibly cautious. It never stayed long. It never left obvious tracks. It appeared, killed, and then vanished. Almost like it knew exactly where people were standing. As weeks turned into months, reports became stranger. People started seeing it. Usually it was just for a split second, a flash of white disappearing between the trees, a pale figure crossing a field faster than any person should be able to run. Someone would look towards the woods and notice what appeared to be a tall, white figure standing perfectly still among the trees. The moment they focused on it, it was gone. Descriptions remained surprisingly consistent. Tall, thin, white, long arms, sharp claws. Some claimed its eyes reflected lights, like an animal's would. Others insisted they never saw its face clearly enough to describe it. But almost everyone agreed on one detail. It moved wrong. Not like a man, not like a known animal. It seemed to glide rather than run, to cover impossible distances in just a few steps. One witness reportedly described it as it disappeared into the woods so quickly that it almost looked as though it dissolved into darkness itself. But that wasn't what frightened people the most. The scream was. Imagine standing outside late at night. The wind has stopped. Crickets suddenly fall silent. Then something in the darkness. A piercing shriek erupts. It's not a fox. It's not a cougar. It's not an owl. Something impossibly high-pitched, so loud it seems to vibrate inside your skull. People claim the sound made their ears ring. Some said it froze them in their place. Others admitted they dropped whatever they were carrying and ran without looking back. Even those who never claimed to see the creature often remember hearing that scream. And once they heard it, man, they never forgot it. And like every enduring legend, the White Thing evolved. Teenagers became part of the story. For decades, secluded backroads among Westmoreland served as popular places for young couples looking for some privacy. Parked beside fields or tucked near wooden trails, they expected some quiet evenings. Instead, some returned home horrified. They spoke about hearing something walking around their cars, scratching sounds, heavy breathing, then catching sight of a pale figure walking the tree line. Some started their engines and sped away immediately. Others were too scared to move. Whether they truly encountered something or simply frightened themselves in the dark hardly mattered. The stories spread. Parents repeated them. Grandparents added details. Soon nearly every teenager in Westmoreland knew someone who claimed to have seen the White Thing while parked on a lonely country road. But perhaps the most unsettling part of the legend wasn't the sightings. It was the crying. People occasionally reported hearing what sounded like an infant crying somewhere deep in the woods. The cry seemed distant, helpless. Instinct took over. Anyone hearing a baby alone at night would naturally want to help. Several people supposedly followed those cries in the darkness, calling out, searching, trying to find the child. Then suddenly, the crying stopped. The woods became silent. And moments later, that terrible scream echoed through the trees. Some believe the creature deliberately mimicked a baby to lure curious people deeper out into the woods. And whether that's true, it's impossible to know. But stories like that transform the White Thing from a dangerous animal into something far more unsettling. Something intelligent. Something capable of deception. Something that understood human compassion and used it against them. The longer the creature remained unseen, the larger the mystery became. People started asking a simple question. Where could something this large hide for so many years? And the answer, according to local folklore, it lay beneath the ground itself. Westmoreland sits atop limestone, and the area there is filled with caves, sinkholes, and underground passages. For generations, residents around Sumner County have known about hidden openings scattered throughout the countryside. Some are little more than narrow cracks in the earth. Others descend into long cave systems that twist beneath farms. Many locals became convinced the White Thing lived underground. The theory explained everything. It could only emerge at night, disappear without leaving tracks, avoid hunters, move unseen beneath distant properties. Some even claim those underground passages stretch for miles, connecting Westmoreland to nearby communities like Bethpage and even towards Gallatin. Interestingly, reports of similar pale creatures occasionally surfaced in those areas as well. Was it the same creature? Or were there more than one? No one really knows. One of the reasons this legend has endured is because it wasn't passed down by strangers. It lived inside families. A local named Betty Brown remembers visiting her grandparents' farm near Westmoreland when she was a girl. Like many children raised in rural Tennessee, she had heard warnings about staying out after dark. Her grandmother had one favorite reminder: "Be home before dark," she always said, "or the White Thing will get you." At the time, Betty laughed it off. Even families have stories designed to keep children from wandering too far. The boogeyman, the witch in the woods, you know. She assumed the White Thing belonged in that same category. Years later, however, her mother shared a story that changed her perspective. One evening, Betty's grandfather heard a disturbance outside near the chicken coop. He grabbed a shotgun and raced into the yard, expecting to find a fox. Instead, he watched a large white figure dart away towards the woods. When he reached the coop, several chickens were already dead. He later insisted the creature was enormous, not dog-sized, not the size of a coyote. It was the size of a man. And despite having a clear look at it, he could never explain exactly what he had seen. Today, skeptics have reasonable explanations. Coyotes, dogs maybe, they might attack some livestock. Bobcats, they appear in rural areas. Fear and imagination can transform ordinary experiences into extraordinary memories. And those explanations satisfy many people, but not everyone, because folklore survives for a reason. Whether or not the White Thing ever existed as a flesh and blood creature almost becomes secondary. The legend exists because generation after generation continued finding something worth preserving. Every family remembered a different piece: a grandfather's encounter, a strange scream in the woods, dead livestock, a pale figure crossing a fence. Like pieces of an unfinished puzzle, they form a story larger than just any single witness. And perhaps that's why the White Thing remains one of Tennessee's most fascinating cryptid legends. Because unlike monsters that belong only to books or movies, this one belongs to a community. Ask around Westmoreland today, and you'll still find people willing to lower their voices before they mention it. Some laugh, some shrug. Some simply say they wouldn't go walking around the woods after dark, not because they expect to find anything, but because you never know. Maybe somewhere beneath those quiet Tennessee hills, hidden among forgotten caves and tangled forests, something that escaped a circus train decades ago, never really left. Perhaps it's still there waiting, listening, watching, just beyond the edge of the trees. And if you ever find yourself driving the back roads around Westmoreland late at night, roll your windows down for just a moment. Listen carefully, because if the crickets suddenly stop and you hear what sounds like a baby crying somewhere deep in the woods, you might want to keep driving. After all, some legends are best left alone. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about wild legends like the White Thing, check out my book, Southern Ghost Stories, Tennessee Tales 1 and 2. That's right, there's 2 books. Lots of hauntings and just weird stuff in the volunteer state. The book's available on Kindle too. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. It can't be free. And speaking of books, make sure you head over to Amazon and pick up my latest book, Pistols at Red River. It's the Andrew Jackson Doolan story. Hollywood couldn't make up what happened in Nashville back in 1806. Andrew Jackson went to Kentucky to defend his wife's honor. So yeah, it's legendary. So I mentioned earlier, please leave a review and subscribe to the show. It really helps people find the podcast. Like I said, we're trying to find 150 Apple Podcast reviews for October. And please help me out and leave a review. Takes less than a minute. Have you guys been to Monster City Madhouse yet? MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Their new shirt, man, it's a whole lot of fun. And I may or may not have had a hand in its creation. It's really up for debate. The greatest cryptid tag team of all time has arrived. Straight from the deepest forest of cryptid mania comes the Monster Powers, featuring the Yeti and Bigfoot, and an over-the-top tribute to classic 1980s wrestling, monster magazines, and larger-than-life personalities. Packed with colorful retro artwork, outrageous promos, championship gold, and enough cryptid power to shake the woods, this exclusive Monster City design is perfect for wrestling fans, cryptid hunters, horror lovers, and anyone who appreciates old-school cartoon mayhem. Whether you're tracking Bigfoot, searching for the Yeti, or just ready to watch the mega monsters run wild, brother, this shirt was made to stand out. And also, make sure you use promo code SAVE10 to get 10% off your order. That's right, MonsterCityMadhouse.com, promo code SAVE10 gets you 10% off your order. Can't beat that. So, make sure you're following Southern Ghost Stories on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to leave a comment or send a question for the show, southernghoststories@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me there. Thank you for listening to Southern Ghost Stories. I'm Alan Searcy, the American Historian, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. If you love ghost stories, folklore, and all things mysterious, you need to make a trip to Haunted in downtown Tullahoma, Tennessee. Just a short drive from Nashville, this family-owned Gothic shop is filled with the strange, unusual, and downright fascinating. This isn't a big box store full of mass-produced decorations. Haunted specializes in handmade curiosities, Gothic decor, metaphysical supplies, green witchcraft essentials, and unique pieces created by independent artists. Whether you're decorating or just looking for something you won't find anywhere else, Haunted is worth the trip. Visit them on 125 West Lincoln Street in Tullahoma, or shop online at hauntedstore.net. That's right, hauntedstore.net. Haunted, curated for the strange and unusual. Monster City Madhouse, a year-round online store full of Halloween and classic horror shirts, with an emphasis on the vintage look. Use code SAVE10 for 10% off your order. MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Free shipping and financing is available.